Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Angela Shree. We are back with another episode. Listen, this is the final episode in the Minority Mental Health series, okay? We have had some amazing conversations surrounding mental health and minorities and all that. If you have missed any of the episodes, I need you to go back and get it together and watch. You can watch on YouTube or listen on all streaming platforms. Tonight, I'm excited about this episode. We are talking about breaking the cycle. Listen, we know about some cycles, don't we? I have Miss Princess Whittington with me today. How are you, Princess?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. If you don't mind, before we jump into all the good, juicy stuff we're going to talk about tonight, go ahead and just let the people know who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay. Well, as you stated, I am Princess Whittington. I am the founder of Mental Health Speaks. And what that is basically I'm an advocate for the minority community. We break cycles as far as not seeking mental health when we professional help when we need it. We're breaking generational curses and ideas of not seeking therapy or what we've been told since we were younger. So that's pretty much what I do. I host events of breaking the cycle. There's series where I have different African-American therapists who are on the panel who basically shed light and give information as well as broadcast their business. So I'm all about the people.
Yes, I love it. And I saw that when I found your profile on Instagram. Thank God for Instagram. Instagram right. introduces me to so many amazing people, and you are one of those. I love your mission. From what I took from it, I saw no longer being silent about mental health within the Black community and breaking the cycle of myths, stigmas, and generational curses. Now, that's a word all by itself, okay? Why do you think that's so important, and why is that your mission?
That's my mission solely because I want us as a Black community to get better. Like, there's so many things that we've been traumatized by that we've swept under the rug, that we don't talk about, all these taboo things. And so I just wanted to just say, hey, let's stop doing that. Let's stop with all the nonsense that we've been doing that obviously hasn't worked for a very long time. So what can I do to make this different for our generation? And so basically just listening to my friends, some of my closest people that I know are associates that I know that were struggling with mental illnesses, that didn't want to speak about it, but would speak to me, which I'm always going to be a listening ear to anyone. But I felt like more needed to be done. Like, yes, we can have a conversation amongst ourselves, but when are we going to actually take the time to actually seek a professional? Because sometimes it's just deeper than just regular conversations that you have with your friends and family. So that's basically where I went with that, just wanting to make sure I shift the dynamics of what's been going on with us within our community.
Listen, I totally agree with that. I used to have a term that my friends are my therapists for free. And I've had to pull back on that because, like you said, some things are deeper than just a conversation. Sometimes you go into that childhood and dig up some stuff and heal, and it's so much deeper. And I do think conversation and venting, and we talked about that last episode, it is a healing in that, but you really need to, if you feel like you need to and you're dealing with some issues, talk to a licensed healthcare professional that can really help you with the solutions, especially, like you said, in this time, shifting us to understand. I don't really think mental health should even be taboo anymore, because we are experiencing so much trauma at one time. It's almost impossible not to feel everything that's going on around us and be affected by it mentally. And so I really don't even think, I hate that it's still taboo, because it's like, I feel like we all need to be talking to I mean, I have a therapist, and I'm not ashamed. I see her tomorrow. I am not ashamed to say it, because I think that we can only take on so much. We're human, and in our human strength, we aren't able to deal with all of this stuff on our own. And some of us don't even have community. So it's really, really important to reach out beyond yourself. So I love that mission. So we're going to jump right in. Again, we're talking about myths, stigmas, and generational curses as it relates to mental health in our community as minorities. So let's jump into myths first. Some of the things that I researched and found out, and you can tell me if you've seen this, if you agree, how you feel about it. The first one was that mental health treatment, this is a myth, mental health treatment is a luxury and it's not really for us. And I was like, what is that? But I can understand that to an extent, because when we see celebrities or people go through things, they go to this fancy schmancy, rehabilitation center. It has a name that's not even like rehabilitation center. It's like care center, or, it sounds and looks luxurious. And so some people feel like that's just for them. That ain't really for us. Right. We don't do that. Or they feel like, it's like an asylum, like a back in the day insane asylum, and it's something that's, again, just totally not for us. Have you heard that or seen that? Or
that was actually the first time that I've heard that particular myth, that it's a luxury, but I can see how that could be because of movies. Like, we're influenced by things that we see on TV, on social media, and all of that. So I could see why, every time that we did see a person seeking therapy, it's a rich white person, exactly. It's never us, or, it always paints that picture like, oh, well, you have to make this amount of money in order to see a therapist. And that's so far from the truth, because a lot of people don't know if some insurance basically covers mental health, and so if you actually go into call your insurance and see, hey, what does it cover, how many visits I have, you'll find that you have it on there. So it's not a luxury. You pay, we're all paying for it if you pay for health insurance. So that myth, I can't. No,
I think that I understand it from the standpoint of a lot of minority communities struggle financially. Absolutely. And so I guess it does seem like, luxury may not be the right word, but it does seem that way because, like you said, it seems affordable, unattainable, because financially, listen, I'm barely able, most people can't even go to the doctor when they are actually sick or get their prescription. So I looked at it from that light, but I love what you said. That is so true. Check your benefits. Like you said, we pay for it to come out of your check. Pay for it. I know with behavioral health, there are sometimes you get 5 visits, 10 visits for free, and then you may have a copay or a deductible. For me, mine's 100% across the board. And so you just never ever know. So don't take that and run with it. If you need the help, call, ask for behavioral health benefits, and see what they're talking about. Right. So another myth is treatment won't help. Some people feel like it's why would I do that? Or some people feel like ain't nothing wrong with me. What are they gonna do? Or I'm not gonna be getting on medicine. That's all they're gonna do. And I don't think people realize there's so many different avenues that the therapists and psychologists and healthcare professionals use. They may not choose the pharmacy route. They may choose a holistic approach. They may choose, just a supportive therapy approach. So talk about that. Let's debunk this myth. Like, there are so many treatments, and they will make sure that it's, it's structured for you. And if they don't, advocate for yourself, find another provider until you find the one that works. That's what I say.
So it's crazy that you said that, but one of the therapists that were on my panel has stated that you get out of therapy what you put in. And so it's always going to relate back to your mental and your thought process and what do you want to obtain out of going to therapy. If you have the wrong attitude about it and you're just doing it because you feel like, okay, I just want to see that it doesn't work, then of course it's not going to work for you, because most of the time your therapist is going to give you assignments, or not force it on you, but say, hey, I think this is a good idea if you did X, Y, and Z, or just observe your behavior. And if you're not doing the work, if you're not doing it, any of those things, of course it's not going to work for you. Like, and that's with anything, but especially with therapy, if you really want it to work for you, then you have to give a little bit. Like, you just can't go in there and just be like, okay, whatever, like, I'm here, like that's all that's required of me. No, that's definitely not how it works at all. But yeah, there's so many different approaches. One of them are bound to work for you, but like I said, it all falls back on you. If you don't want to do it, then it's not no use. Why are you even going? Like, what's the point? So yeah, for sure.
I like that. You get out of it what you put into it. And that's very true. I tried therapy like years ago, maybe like 2015. And I didn't really bare my soul. You know, I kind of was like surface level. Whatever she asked me, I answered.
Bare minimum.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let me get this hour out the way. But I really ain't said nothing she's talking about. And it wasn't effective. And I kind of, for years, though I felt like I should continue going, I had like a negative, a perception, you know, about therapy, because that instance didn't go how I thought it would go. Like, I wasn't crying during the session, so I thought it wasn't effective, and she wasn't tapping into what I really wanted to hear, and it's like I wasn't giving her enough to really go on. So that's really, really good. You gotta put into it what you want to get out of it, and keep trying. Don't give up. If the first session doesn't go the way you thought it would, the third session, keep going until you really find, and then express your concern.
Even with that, now if you are trying, you're actively trying, or even if the vibe is off and you just like something's not definitely, it's okay to go to another therapist. It's trial and error. This is for you, like that. It's personal. So just with even if you go to the doctor, dentist, whoever, the same thing applies. If you're advocate for yourself. If something's not right or you're not feeling it, it is okay to move on to someone else until you get it, till you have that perfect fit for you. So absolutely,
I love that. So the last myth I want to debunk is that the symptoms are just a phase and they will pass. Some people who have or deal with depression or anxiety, they may say, oh, it's always like this during this time of the month, or it's always like this, you know, when I have a lot going on at work. Or sometimes maybe they're not able to pinpoint it. It's just like, well, this is what I deal with. It comes and goes. It's nothing. Talk about that, because I really do feel like, I know for me, I was like that for years when it comes to depression. I was like, oh, you know, I've been thinking about this or this situation. And it's like, when you really look at it, like that wasn't what it was. I didn't know what it was. And so it wasn't something that was just coming quarterly or yearly. It was deeper than that. So talk about that, because some people really feel like it's just a phase.
That one can get a little bit tricky. I guess I didn't get my full background. I'm actually a speech therapist, but like I said, I'm a mental health advocate. So anything that I learn, obviously it's going to be from a professional mental health care provider. But I have also heard that there's such things as seasonal. So there's a difference between, oh, you're just going through a phase, you know, of depression. It's, oh, it only lasted a month or whatever. There's some people that do have seasonal depression. So around certain specific times of the year, or holidays, you know, they're triggered, they're triggered by something. So that's the reason why they're going through that depression. And then once that passes, they feel like they're okay. But as far as phases, if it's something that I feel like is repetitive for you and you don't know how to control it, or, you know, you're just feeling super off, then that's definitely not a phase. Like, you should definitely seek professional help and figure out what's going on, you know, because you never want to just brush anything off, because that's, a lot of us have done that. Like, oh, okay, it's just this moment, like, I'll be fine. And really, it's a lot deeper than that. So for sure, I don't think, you have to be careful and be mindful of phases, or what they label as phases, because For sure.
So what I just thought about as you were talking, that's really good. We talked about that last year on the podcast about around the holidays. A lot of people deal with seasonal depression, but I think it's good too to maybe journal, like, or what is it, like a diary of when you felt, you know, how you felt, if you feel, or if you're feeling down, recording those emotions, the date, the time, what might have been going on, and every time you feel it, kind of making a record. That's what I'm trying to say, making a record of that.
Yeah.
So you can see if this is really like stress at work, if this is really, I've just been eating the wrong things, because that all plays a part. If this is hormonal, whatever, I think that may help. And I never thought about that until you were speaking, to just help you determine like what is really going on with me, because we get so busy and we just go through our day. And we don't take a moment to stop and really look at things. But that may help. Okay, today I was feeling down. Nothing happened today. It's just, you know, whatever. That may be helpful, so that you know if this is what's really going on. I like that. Okay, so we're going to jump into stigmas. Whew, okay, so the first one is stereotypes. People having negative beliefs about those with mental illness. So we're talking about these things because these are reasons why some people do not reach out for help. So stereotypes. A lot of people have negative beliefs. They think that people with mental illnesses are dangerous or weak, or, you know, you've seen, I know when I was younger, like if somebody was like at the bus stop or, you know, out and they were like, you know, acting bizarrely, you know, your mom would be like, come on, they crazy. You know what I'm saying? Which as an adult now I know better. And I know that, you know, they may have some mental health, you know, issues or things going on. So how can people address that, or I guess change that mindset if they feel that way about themselves? And how can people who have that view about people or don't know how to really deal, because we have been taught that, oh, they crazy, don't deal with them, or they, you know what I'm saying? When, I mean, Kanye is a good example, and I'm gonna say it, and people may not like it. I don't know how much is mental health. I don't know how much is publicity, and I'll just say that.
Right.
And that's my truth. I mean, that's my opinion. It isn't law. But there clearly is something that's not 100%. Right. And so many people have talked about him and labeled him, and it's a joke to a lot of people, and it's memes, and it's this, that, and the third. It's very dangerous, some of the things that he's putting out there. But I do think that that is what we do. We talk about people before we try to have compassion for them, or we make it a joke. We do treat them differently. We do stay clear. You know, some of the people in the industry are like, you know, I can't fool with you, you know, and just being very, it's a stereotype. It is like they're treating him like we treat people like a lot of times every day.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times we, as the Black community, we'll make a joke out of anything. Like, and sometimes I love that about us, but then at the same time, like, that's really not supposed to be a joke, bro. Like, that's very not funny. But then I also feel like some criticize or make fun of things that they don't understand. So when you don't fully understand something, to you it is funny, it is a joke. So I think just being culturally and just being sensitive to certain topics and certain things. I know that we kind of like the whole cancel culture thing, which is a whole nother story. We're quick to cancel a lot of stuff, but I feel like just being mindful of certain things. And if you don't understand something, it's okay to ask or even research. Like, there's so much on the internet you can look up. So if you don't understand a person's behavior, or if you see someone acting in a way like, let me look that up, something not right. So with Kanye, I feel like with you, I feel like it is a little bit of both, but I feel like the people in his corner that truly know him probably should have extended the branch and said, hey, Kanye, I think maybe, or maybe they did, and he just turned it down. Like, maybe you should seek help, or, you know, something's not right. Like, I'm not trying to be all in your business, but I'm doing this out of love. And sometimes I think people do get scared of trying to let somebody know in a good, you know, hey, I'm not trying to be rude or ugly, but I feel like, you know, I'm concerned about you. So it's just, that's a offense that's, you know, you have to be cautious on and just figure out how to maneuver that and work that in, because it is a sensitive topic. But just like I said, being mindful, researching it, trying to understand, because those are labels that are not appropriate. Like, I mean, we shouldn't call anyone
I hate when people say crazy. I don't know what it is. Like, even if they're joking, like I may say something funny and somebody like, girl, you crazy. I cannot stand that term. I just feel like, and I feel like words are powerful as well. And I feel like what you speak, it manifests. And it presents itself, and I feel like you have to be careful of the words you speak, not just over someone else, but yourself. And I cannot stand that term. But something that you said was really good. Because the next point is, a lot of times, because of the stereotypes we have in our head about people who deal with mental illnesses, when we don't know and we haven't educated ourselves, it brings about a prejudice. It brings about, like you said, that fear, like, I don't really want to say nothing. When they come around, you know, you just kind of like anxious or feeling pity for them, even feeling sorry for them. And I feel like that's something that we need to pay attention to, because I understand compassion, but they don't need your pity. Because they already, a lot of times, we talked about this, I think, in the first episode of this series, a lot of times they already feel deficient. They already feel like I'm a burden. They already feel like I'm dealing with all this stuff. I know it's a lot. It's a lot for me. So when we act in a way that confirms those stereotypes that we have, I think that it makes the person that's dealing with the illness even worse. Like, it can cause more harm than good.
Yes, I definitely agree with that, for sure.
So I just want us to be mindful of that. Like, let's fix and educate the stereotypes so that we can also fix the actions behind it.
That's good. I like that.
And treat people differently and better, because they're still human. Like, why do we have to treat people differently because of things they deal with? I think that's the biggest thing about mental health that a lot of people don't understand. They don't
feel respected as a human being, and sometimes people don't view them as such because they are suffering from a mental illness, but they have feelings too, like, and they're still human. So you want to just, like you said, be mindful and just educate yourself and just be respectful at the end of the day. Just be respectful.
And the last one, they all kind of flow together, because when we aren't respectful to them and their journey and their truth, we become discriminatory. We segregate them from stuff. We exclude them. Like, you may have a family member, like, they be like, oh, that's crazy, ain't whatever. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna invite her to this because y'all know how she crazy. You know, we kind of segregate, or we just avoid altogether. And there's danger in that, because they still need love. They still need a community. They need support, just like we do. And I think that is something else that I wanted to address. I believe, Jennifer, what is her name? Black Hollywood, the auntie of Black Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis.
Oh, Lewis, okay.
And I believe she's bipolar. She talks about that. And she was like, as Black people, a lot of times that's what we do. You know, that's crazy. Somebody ain't whatever. We put them in a basement somewhere. Or, you know what I'm saying? We just forget about them. And I think that is something, as Black community, just in the Black community, period, I think that we do need to do a better job of being compassionate towards each other and really loving on each other.
Right.
The more. I think that a lot of times when stuff isn't how we want it to, we like, oh, we out. I'm out. I'm going to cut you off. You know, we ready to cut somebody off. But when people are dealing, that's when they need you the most.
Absolutely.
And that's what I hate about the cancel culture situation. That's what I hate about the responses we've seen with Nick Cannon and Tamar. People making a joke and saying, well, this is what she deserves. And, you know, this is what we do. We do this when we don't understand, when we have stereotypes, and when we, you know, just don't want to deal with stuff because it's too much. It's not, you know, and I've been through a lot within my family as it pertains to mental health. And I get it. And I understand it is a lot. It's a full-time job. But I have learned that love does conquer all.
Girl, yes, for sure. No, seriously, it does. all you need to do is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
yes, love
go ahead.
for sure. Just taking the time out, because that's what they need. That's what we all need, regardless of our status or, you know, where we're from or our mental status. Like we all need love at the end of the day. And if you're not showing, especially if it's family, because that's a whole nother topic. Like they can't even get love from their oh, you can't even get love from your own family, then where can they get it from? So yeah, definitely love. For sure, that was a good one. You definitely need to show love towards people with mental illnesses and just people everywhere in the world.
Yeah, in general. Okay, so we just flowing. You hit on it. So we're gonna jump into the generational curses and mindsets, because a lot of things that we have been taught and told as it relates to mental health, and a lot of things that let's just be real, okay? Y'all know I keep it real. A lot of stuff that we've been taught and told is attributed and contributed to our mental health status in our 30s and 40s now, and 20s. A lot of us really are a little, you know, not there where we need to be because of things that did happen and the seeds that were planted in our childhood. So, oh Lord, I feel like I already feel this. I feel it in my. So a lot of times in our families, when we are dealing, like say right now in the pandemic, a lot of us are dealing, and some people have amazing community and amazing families. Everybody's story ain't like that. And it's really, really hard when you are dealing with depression or anxiety, or you just not feeling yourself. It's really, really hard to reach out, because in a lot of families, especially minority communities, it's shameful to have a mental illness. It's shameful. I told, in the last episode, I talked about how I was having a therapy session, and I do it virtually. And my dad called during the session. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna call you back. I'm in therapy." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm in therapy." I had never told him because I didn't want to hear it, you know. And so he called me back like 2 hours later, and he was like, "Wait a minute, you said you in therapy? What you in therapy? What's wrong with you?" And he started laughing, and it was just like, girl, it was like something had to be wrong with me. And immediately I felt ashamed. Like, I've been proud and told my friends, and I was excited because I feel like it's helping me be a better me. So that's wonderful. That's great. But when he said that, I was like, oh, shoot, you know, like, I don't want to talk about this. I immediately felt ashamed. And I know he didn't mean any harm. Yeah. You know, he's from a different generation, a whole nother situation. But I've seen that in Black communities a lot of times, you know, we don't want to say nothing because it's like, your mom going to be like, oh, y'all here? Or don't tell nobody that you're dealing with that. That's between us.
Yeah. Keep it in-house, basically. That's a good one, because most of the time I know, like for my particular family, my mom, she would be like, just pray about it. So like whatever you're going through, it doesn't matter. Like it's just a phase or it's just a part of life. Just pray it out and God will help you, I love God. Like that's, you know, I'm a Christian, but I feel like God puts people here for a reason. And so they're here to assist. They're here to help you. Like there's some things that you just can't do alone. And yes, prayer is awesome and prayer does change things, but we have to stop using that as an excuse of not seeking therapy, because there's even therapists that are in some church families that still provide counseling. So they're providing these counseling services. So it's similar to just going to get professional help. Why not do that? Yes, pray, but we need more than that. And so I feel like a lot of times when we did have something wrong, or you tell someone about something, they kind of just brush it off. It's like, no, you don't have, ain't nothing wrong with you. And no, there might be a lot wrong with me. You're just not, you know, you just don't want to accept it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to face the reality of it. But yeah, how your father handled that conversation, that's typically how it would go in a Black community. It's like, why
it is a shameful, I feel like it's shameful for some Black parents, because in some instances they feel like they did something wrong. Like they weren't the parents, because I deal with that as a mother. And my daughter deals with depression. And sometimes in the beginning, when I didn't fully understand everything, I did feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible mother. Like, where did I go wrong? And just being, I was ashamed to say something because I didn't want people to judge me, and you know what I'm saying? And so I get it, but I want us to correct that and to reconstruct that idea, because everyone has their own individual journey. And I feel like that's what God spoke to me when I was going through that guilt and shame and like, oh my gosh, I wasn't the perfect, I'm going through this because, and it was like, she has her own journey.
Absolutely.
She has her own life.
You cannot take that
anybody.
personal. Yeah.
And so I had that moment. And so I can understand, you know, it's been a year, but I can understand how parents can feel that way. But just know they just need your support. Right. And I think the more you're accepting, that you hear it out, that you don't just dismiss it by saying, pray it away. And I'm like you, I believe in the power of prayer. Everything that I do, the brand is built on prayer. But like you said, I believe that God has orchestrated these people to be professionals and to help us through. So I always say, pray. And once you get through praying, I need you to go to the nearest appointment or take that medication, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Go lay on somebody's couch and get it together, because you need all of that sometimes. Prayer and some.
Yes, and that's a good thing that you expressed it from a mother's side. But like, even this has been passed on for generations. So even in the slightest, like, dating way back to slavery, past that segregation, like, I feel like they all needed therapy then. Like, that's a traumatic experience that you have to go through each. Hello? So of course, like, you're dealing with this on top of your own situations, your own crisis, your own problems. Like, why wouldn't you seek help? Like, yes, you're talking, but you're like, especially back then, you're talking to somebody who's going through the exact same thing with you. Like, neither one of you are getting better. You're just sharing what you're experiencing, but that's not help. So I feel like it's just been a generation after generation, like, oh, we tough, we can handle everything. We don't need to seek therapy. And that's always been the answer. Like, we're good, we can handle it, we're strong black woman. Yes, absolutely.
Strong black man.
Yeah. So,
and we are strong people. We are resilient in every single way. But that does not mean in any way that we don't need help sometimes. We have to take off that superhero cape and get rid of the superwoman and superman complex and get the help that we need when we need it. Okay.
But I mean, I feel like being strong is recognizing that you need help as well.
It is.
I mean, yes, you're a strong black woman, you're a strong black man, but you also recognize there's some things about me that I need that could be tweaking. And even as far as therapy, we also didn't really touch bases on that. Like, well, you kind of did when you say your father called and he asked what was wrong with you, but just the same way that you're physically fit and you go work out and you exercise your body, you have to exercise your mind, and you have to keep yourself fit, mentally fit. So it's not, you can go seek a therapist and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, but you just want to make sure mentally, okay, these are the exercises I need to keep me afloat to make sure that when a crisis does happen, I'm mentally, like, I know how to take it head on. So I don't want everyone to think like, oh, you have to be going through something just to go seek therapy, because that's not. No,
sometimes it's just to better yourself, to find yourself, to rediscover your passion, to rediscover your purposes. So I love that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's definitely true. So you kind of touched on this a little bit about being physically fit. In a lot of our communities, obesity is a thing. And sometimes, we talk about our family members or our kids who want to always eat, or they, or look at her, she done gained weight. She comes to the family reunion, look at y'all see her, she done got so big. We do it. And a lot of times we don't recognize that a lot of the reasons why we have obesity like we do and our weight is the issue is because we use food as a coping mechanism. But what we label it as, again, we're talking about generational curses and mindsets, we label it as lazy. They eat too much. They greedy. You hear like your grandma and them back in the day telling, talking about your cousin, they just greedy. Stop eating. But there's maybe something deeper. A lot of times when I watch, girl, I'm gonna tell my truth, I love watching my 600-pound life. Don't ask me why. It's
that
a guilty
show
pleasure.
is very interesting.
It
so
is.
I get
it's like my motivation to, girl, get your weight under control because you don't want to be dealing with that. But you know, in every situation, the core or the root of it was some kind of trauma. Whether it was sexual abuse, whether it was, you know, the parents divorced and they didn't see about the child felt neglected, abandoned by the parent who left or whatever. Every single instance stemmed from some kind of trauma. And so again, I want to reconstruct that idea. If you have a child or you have a family member that, you know, is, you know, dealing with their weight, and I'm talking about, we know, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And, or you're constantly getting onto them because all you do is eat. You may want to look at that instead of talking about it.
Absolutely.
That's something different.
For sure. And that's good that you touch bases on that, for sure, because a lot of times it is something triggering. Like, it's an underlying issue that isn't being dealt with or even being put on the forefront. So you're just assuming they're just eating just for the heck of it. But really, they could be, you know, having a whole lot on their mind. Could be a traumatic event. You just never know. So unless we talk and like dig a little deeper, or even take them, you know, to go see a counselor or a therapist and figure out, okay, maybe they're more comfortable with telling them what's going on and not you. You know, you just never know. But unless you do something about it instead of just talking negatively about someone.
Yeah. And that's the last point when we're talking about generational mindsets and curses. Us not talking about stuff, but also, you know, there's a thing that parents usually say when we were growing up: you ain't got no feelings. You know, or if you say, you know, you hurt my feelings, or, you know, I'm feel sad, or what you sad about? You better get over there, or I feel depressed. Well, you better depress your behind over there watching dishes. Like, a lot of times, not just being dismissive, but a lot of times our parents just didn't feel like we had any kind of emotions or feelings or whatever. And I know in my life, I try to do that differently. Sometimes it's hard because sometimes I'm like, I'm still the mama, you know, but I've had to reconstruct that in my own life, because our children and the people in our lives, younger people, teenagers, they do have feelings and emotions too. And again, I want to address that and reconstruct that, because that is very, very dangerous to tell your child that, because what you're saying is your feelings and what you feel isn't valid. It isn't important. I do not care. That's what you're really saying. And it don't mean any harm. That's not I know that our parents, you know, didn't mean for it to come out.
Right.
But that's what it did. And it teaches you then that your feelings aren't valid. So you hold everything in.
Exactly.
You get to 20s and 30s and there's
you don't know how to feeling over in everything. Your job, your relationships, like, man. Because I have no feelings. I'm going to hold it in. I don't have to share it with anybody. Like, my mom or my dad or my grandpa or whoever raised me told me, like, I don't have feelings. And if I express them, then they're not going to be heard. So what's the point of even expressing those feelings? So yeah, that stuff follows you. Like, people don't, like, your childhood, whew, man, it can follow you till you die. And unless you recognize, unless you address it and you recognize, you know, those small triggers or whatever happens in your past, and you'll forever be messed up, for sure.
So getting out of here, I know again that you are an advocate for people who are shy or too scared to speak up. If you can, just for a brief second, just kind of give them some tips. I mean, we talked about some things, but give them some tips on how to kind of gain that courage, or how to deal with the steps to take to reach out and to get help, and also maybe some resources as well.
I think they should definitely start off small. So at least going to someone that they absolutely do, you know, they trust, and just explaining how they're feeling, and maybe reaching out and just saying, hey, you know, I've been feeling a little weird lately, or I haven't been feeling myself. I think I may need some help, or what do you think it could be? And for the friend that's on the receiving end, basically giving them the right advice. Also, I'm here, like a lot of people since I've started my Mental Health Speaks organization have reached out to me and just asked me, hey, who's a therapist you think will be good for me? Or can you give me therapists in this specific area? And I'll do that. Like, you just have to be willing to, you don't have to broadcast your business. Like, just say, hey, do you know any therapists? Or, hey, you know, can you point me in the right direction? You know, something just as small as that, because I know everyone's not really comfortable with just speaking up all the time. So just finding that one person, that's all it takes, that you feel would be, you know, that you can trust, that you can share information with. There's some community-based therapy that I had looked up for a few people. The North Texas Behavioral Health Authority. You can go online and search, you know, therapists in your area, and these are community-based. So you may just pay like $10 or $15, or it may be completely free. So these aren't Black therapists. There may be some Black therapists in there, and I always advocate for my people. So most of my panel, well, all of my panel, is going to be either, you know, Black people or of minorities. So this I can't say will be 100% back, but I'm sure they can find one person. The Texas Health and Human Services, that's hhs.texas.gov /services, and they can look it up on there. That's also a good resource if they don't want to talk to anyone and they just want to search for themselves. It's readily available on there. So that would just be my advice, and just take it one day at a time. Just take it one day at a time, and just, you know, one day maybe you'll get a little step further to, you know, get to where you need to be, or seek the help that you need to seek, for sure.
That's good. That's really good and really helpful. So I hope those that are listening and watching, that they take advantage of those resources. I also want to add, and I was supposed to have it in front of me, but I did not do it. I forgot. I believe it's called Healthier in Hue, Hue. I recently found out about them via Instagram, Healthier in Hue. And if you click the link in the bio on the Instagram page, it will send you a code where you can like download a web app, and it has a list of all African American providers.
Oh, that's
you are like, you don't trust, you know, some people are just, you know, if you just, you know, want to have an African American, or, you know, whatever your minority is, I believe they have, it's just minority based. And I went on there the other day, there are therapists, there are OBGYNs across the nation. So that could be really, really helpful. I will try to tag it because I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe it's Healthier in You. Okay, so getting out of here, girl, you said people can reach out to you, let them know how they can find you, where they can find you on social media or your website, all that good stuff.
So I am on Facebook and on Instagram. The Facebook is Mental Health Speaks. So you just type in Mental Health Speaks and it should pop up. And then the other one is on the Instagram, which is BTC, which is Breaking the Cycle Mental Health Speaks. So BTC Mental Health Speaks, sorry, is on the IG page. So you can just go there. And I have, I think on one of those posts, I'll put the link there. I think I still have it on there, but it has a Psychology Today as well. So if you click on there and then you type in your area, it should give you African American therapists. But like on there, some of them are the tags that they put for, like in the corner, they'll put African Americans, they'll put who they specialize or who they see. So sometimes it won't be an African American person, it'll be someone else who just says that they cater to everyone. But most of them are African American therapists. So that should be on there. And then my recent panels that I've had set for my events are on my post as well. So if you go on my post, when you go to my Instagram, it'll show you the previous African American therapists that I've had so far that are really, really phenomenal. So if you just want to try those out, they can definitely click on their handle for sure.
Awesome. And I like what you said about Psychology Today. That's how I think I found my therapist. And they have some good articles a lot of times too about a lot of really good things. I feel like I've been going through the searching this, and Psychology Today be always on and
Yes.
helping a sister out. But I also want to kind of make this disclaimer too. I know that my demographic or my listeners are not just African American. Minorities come in all colors and hues.
Absolutely.
And so again, I love that you said that, because psychology today has all of that.
Everybody.
So if you are Hispanic, if you are even Caucasian, whatever you need, they will have it for you.
Yes.
But again, y'all, we're talking about minority mental health.
Right.
So don't at me. Princess, this has been amazing. This has been great. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your advice and your resources and your wisdom. It's been amazing, and I can't wait for the people to hear it and hopefully reconstruct some ideas and really push us to speak out, because we all need each other.
Yes.
It's been great, girl.
So much for having me.
You are so welcome. Until next time, y'all, you are listening to and watching the Ever Evolving Podcast.